Hi everyone, my name is Megan Pringle and this is my multicultural school counselor project. I wanted to focus mainly on transgender population, mainly because I have never met anybody transgender, so it was foreign to me. Therefore, I became highly interested in transgender people because it was just new to me. So that will be my focus, and my presentation is geared towards high school students. I felt like they could really understand a little bit more about the transgender population, and therefore I geared mine towards high school. Okay, so what is transgender identity? I know whenever I thought of transgender identity, I automatically thought of just a man that was wanting to be a woman or a woman that was wanting to be a man. And it's really not that simple. It's not just that at all. So we're going to start with LGBTQ. Because it's also, transgender people are also a big part of the LGBTQ community. So LGBTQ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. I know that I never knew the term queer, so that was new to me. So I was highly interested in that. And queer means a lot of things for people in the transgender or the LGBTQ community. So what exactly does it mean to be transgender? Transgender individuals are those who whose identity, expression, behavior, and sense of self do not conform with the sex that they were assigned at birth. However, like I was saying, transgender identity can move beyond the concept of male and female and actually include those who are intersexed, trans men, trans women, masculine identified females, and feminine identified males. So the word transgender is just a large umbrella term for more than just a man wanting to be a woman and a woman wanting to be a man. I think that's a preconceived notion. So that I found that very intriguing. So as we get into this presentation, I want you guys to think about, do you know anyone transgender, and what are a few preconceived notions that you may have? Because believe it or not, I guess from society, we all have preconceived notions. It's okay. What we need to do is actually think about what preconceived notions we have and debunk those. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of the history of the LGBTQ community and transgender. So a lot of the history with the LGBTQ community is challenging the oppressive policies. So in the world years ago, people, and I think still today, are uncomfortable with gay and lesbian and transgender. So years ago, people that were in the LGBTQ community were often not allowed into certain establishments. So they often would go to bars, and they were allowed in many bars. Well, what was happening was police officers were always raiding these establishments. And one day, the police officers were raiding the establishments, and they were harassing and arresting LGBTQ people. But what happened was, at this specific day, patrons of the bar, mainly transgender people of color, fought back against the police. It lasted several days. It took place in Manhattan, New York. And it was called the Stonewall Rebellion. And because of this rebellion, it marks the beginning of the LGBTQ rights movement. And today, gay pride events are held throughout the year. There's parades, there's all types of things for the LGBTQ community. And although the main one in history that started all of this was the Stonewall Rebellion. Okay. Within our schools, we're going to get into our schools a little bit, but history that I felt like was important, speaking to you guys in school, was the Equal Access Act. And it states that it shall be unlawful for any secondary school which receives federal financial assistance to deny access or a fair opportunity to or discriminate against any student who wishes to conduct a meeting on the basis of the religious, political, philosophical, or other content of the speech at such meetings. So we're going to get into the schools and what's happening with the transgender community within the school. But I wanted to put this here under history because it's a huge part of history within the school district for those in the transgender community. Okay, socioeconomic hardships. LGBTQ population and the people face so many hardships. So we're going to give many LGBTQ are not protected from employment discrimination in most states because sexual orientation is not included in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. A lot of people that are gay or lesbian, they don't know and they're unsure when it is safe to disclose their sexual orientation. And that's hard for a person because, they want to be and express who they are. The ability to adopt varies from state to state due to myths. There are some outrageous myths that the LGBTQ have to go through. So some are that children need biological parents. Children raised by same-sex parents are more likely to develop gender and sexual disorders, and that children need a mother and father. So that is a hardship that people that are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender face because they also want to have children of their own, and they want to be able to adopt. Many people believe that the LGBTQ live extravagant lives. Therefore, they believe that they do not need economic, social, or health-related services. However, this stereotype actually creates poverty amongst the LGBTQ community. And people that are LGBTQ, they often, when they go get health services, they feel like they're treated poorly. And this is really, and even when it's a service that is geared for them, they still do not feel comfortable. In society, we are not making it comfortable for people that are lesbian, gay, transgender, or bisexual. Research consistently shows that LGBTQ often face financial hardships and earn significantly less than heterosexuals. In some jurisdictions, restrict transgender from using public accommodations. So as you can tell, people that are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender do not have it easy by any means. They face so many hardships just trying to live an ordinary life like you and I. Addressing sexual identity and stereotypes. So here's some preconceived notions. I tried to put some that were mine because, like I said, we all have preconceived notions. It's human nature. It's what we are exposed to with society, with social media, with TV. And it's not that we have them. Our responsibility is to realize we have them, but try to see past these stereotypes. So I did not have many for transgenders people because I've never really been exposed to it, like I said in the beginning. But some that I was found through research was I found that society believes that transgender people are weird, abnormal, or frightening. That they all medically transition, which is not true. Some cannot afford to. Some do not want to. And that they are mentally ill. This is also not true. It's just something that when they were born, they don't feel that they are the sex they were born. And that drag queens are all transgender people are all drag queens. This is simply also another stereotype. So looking beyond the stereotypes, what do we need to do to look beyond the stereotypes? We need to work to create an environment that provides safety, acceptance, and freedom so people can feel safe. They are free to express themselves, to be who they want to be, and that we accept people for who they are. that we self-examine biases and attitudes regarding transgender, to actually look inside ourselves and to try to debunk what we feel. And also to enhance their knowledge of understanding sexual identity formation to further educate our students. Why should we self-examine biases? Why should we self-examine them? So the LGBTQ youth, because of the pressure to conform in adolescence, 74.1 noticed experiencing verbal harassment, 36.2% noted physical harassment, and 16.5 noted physical assault. 49 reported being harassed. So due to harassment, LGBTQ often live in a hostile environment. And that is not fair to them. So suicide and depression, due to hearing negative messages, shame, and living in a homophobic society, they often are very depressed and result in suicide. Stress, minority stress, is associated with being a member of an opposed group. Substance abuse. Due to shame and poor self-perception, many members of the LGBTQ resort in substance abuse. And also, a lot of LGBTQ youth, once they come out, their parents often shame them and kick them out. They therefore then, to survive, engage in survival sex and substance abuse. So they are then more likely to develop HIV or AIDS. And it is estimated between 30% and 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ. So the Equal Access Act, as I stated, that they should be able to conduct meetings and have, freedom of speech. However, many school boards are refusing to let these groups meet, despite the First Amendment and the Equal Access Act. So despite the Equal Access Act, many school boards are refusing to let these groups meet and express how they're feeling and be a part of something within the school district. So advocating for transgender students. As a school counselor, I would promote a healthy and positive school climate by educating the students on respect, compassion, and dissimilarities. We are not all the same. Follow through on social policies that protect students that are being harassed and violating, and giving proper consequences for those that are harassers. Getting those students in trouble. They deserve consequences. Educating teachers on correct, proper gender pronouns. People that are transgender can easily be hurt and offended by being called an improper gender pronoun. So educating the teachers on transgender students and expressing the need for equality in the classroom. And another one that's really important is creating a safe haven in my office where LGBTQ feel comfortable and safe to discuss their feelings. I want to thank you all for listening to this presentation. I hope that it opened your eyes to the LGBTQ community and shows that they are all people. So this is kind of to wrap up. What I was really trying to get across to you guys is to remember that we are all people, no matter our gender identity. We all feel, all can be hurt and want to be loved. Treat others as you want to be treated. The golden rule. It's so true. Would you want to be harassed? Would you want to be called names? Treat others as you want to be treated. Be nice to those you encounter because you never know what battles they may be facing. And treat others equally. We all deserve to be treated equally. Just because someone is not the same as you does not mean that that they need to be treated any differently. Nobody deserves hurtful words. Nobody deserves harassment. Nobody deserves to feel unwanted. And it is up to you guys as peers to embrace everybody despite their differences. I really thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned quite a bit about the LGBT